Yo, 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 what it do now? Just a baby. Yeah, I already know, man. Back again at it. Another Fireside Friday. Hope y'all doing amazing out there. I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing pretty well. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Had me a pretty productive week. Got a lot of stuff done. Even started working out again. Yeah, no. I'm kidding. But anyways, before we get into the show, there's something that I need to do. Wish I didn't have to do it, but I gotta do it, y'all, because we are not perfect here at Controversial Conversations. So I gotta make a correction. Last week I told you guys in the actual show, not the description. For some reason I got it right in the description, but not in the show. Weird. I don't know. But anyways, so during the show, I told you guys that Andrew Yang was running for governor of New York, and I apologize. I was completely wrong. He's running for the mayor of New York City. And there's a couple things I want to talk about real quick since I'm bringing it up. So he's still in the lead as of right now, and that's not really it's not really good at times for him because it seems like he's the number one person that everybody is taking these shots at. A lady named Maya Wiley, she's a civil rights activist, she's a lawyer, she's a professor, and she's also, I think she's number two spot right now in the polling. And she's running for mayor, obviously. And she says that Andrew Yang has been trying to take the credit from black women in Georgia for trying to, when they actually flip the state and stuff like that. So he's been using that as a talking point to explain why he hasn't really been, involved in local politics. He said he's been kind of out on the forefront fighting for other things on a federal level. So he, said that he contributed to Georgia and to all these people and stuff like that. So she's saying that he's basically trying to take the credit for flipping the state. I don't really see it that way because I've seen him actually give credit to numerous individuals when it came to that. So I feel like she's kind of just trying to use that as a talking point. But it is what it is because it shows that there's a lot of people who are actually trying to take these shots. There's two campaigns that have sent advisors to say that they believe Andrew Yang cheated on a New York Times interview when he was asked three different questions about median households and house costs and stuff like that with Brooklyn and other things. And basically, he ended up getting all three answers completely right, accurate as hell. And these other people were kind of like ballpark or they were just really wrong. And they're saying that there's no way that he could have, gotten these answers out of thin air without having either the questions provided to him prior or by having an aide in there. So they're asking that the New York Times releases the interview of Yang to see if he cheated, this, that, and the other. Now, there's no proof that he has cheated. But as of right now, these are just allegations. And then the last thing that I want to say, so you guys know I've been rocking with Yang. I thought Yang was a really, really great candidate for presidency whenever he was running. There were some things, I guess, that I missed because it appears that he has this undying, unwavering commitment to always painting Israel out to be on the right side of issues. And that's something that I do have an issue with because I believe that you can criticize the Israeli government without actually being anti-Semitic. I believe that you can talk about the forced occupations. I believe you can talk about the settlements. I believe you can talk about the killing of innocent Palestinians for no other reason than the fact that they have the power to do such. Or you can talk about how if you're not an Israeli citizen or an Israeli or Jewish in Israel, how you get treated completely different, almost on a second-class citizenship. So there's all kinds of issues that the Israeli government presents that you can actually speak on without being anti-Semitic. But for some reason, American politicians consistently always want to paint Israel as right. And I have an issue with that. And the other thing is he talked about how he is not in favor of defunding the police. And I think that's an issue, especially in a city like New York City, where you had predominant issues of racial bias and things of that nature, even with the stop and frisk, where you didn't really find anything, but you consistently targeted African Americans and Latinos to see if they had drugs. You would stop them in the middle of the street and just search them, violating civil and constitutional rights, but whatever. So the fact that he doesn't think that there's a policing issue in that aspect, that he thinks that it needs to be changed and defunded to where some of the funds can go to other things and while they can actually change the policing in New York City, that's a very, very big issue because if he were to become president and he doesn't think that there needs to be an overhaul, then he wouldn't do it there either. So those are some of the things that I'm starting to find that I just kind of have slight issues with. So first and foremost, let me go ahead and say, yes, we needed to make that correction because he is running for mayor. But speaking of governors, I'm going to segue into somebody that I really do not like, and that is Brian Kemp the Simp. I cannot stand this man, and what he has done most recently to me, I find to be very cruel. A lot of people are in favor of it because they say that you shouldn't be getting money for free. I have an issue with that, but for the most part, let me start by saying this. So Kemp decided that he no longer wants to have Georgia take part in the federal assistance when it comes to unemployment. So he's cutting all of those programs, right? So he's not going to allow that money to come in to people who are on unemployment anymore. They're not cutting the regular state unemployment, which tops at $365. They're cutting the extra $300 and everything like that. The ones that was provided for gig workers and part-time workers and stuff like that. All of those things are being cut because they say that there's enough jobs. So, there's about 258,000 openings on Employ Georgia, which is what the Department of Labor uses when you are filing for unemployment. You have to be registered on that website. So with the 258,000 jobs, there's 25,000 people still claiming unemployment. Now, the reasoning that they're using, stuff that, oh, it's not fair to the people who have been working, I don't really think that's a good enough argument. Because if they're working so hard and not getting what they deserve, then why don't they just go on unemployment until the employers decide, hey, let me make this a lot more enticing of a job? Like, if you really expect people to give up the fact that they can make more money, save it, and have it, rather than going to work for $7.25 to $10 just to be berated by a piece of shit manager who's mad because his life sucks, or to get spit on and have to be ridiculed by customers because they don't know that they're wrong because the customer isn't fucking always right. Like, these kind of things, you're not providing good jobs. You're providing slave labor damn near, and people can't afford to live off of that. So yeah, they're gonna take the extra money, and I don't have an issue with that at all. You know what I mean? So if small businesses want more people working for them, then they have to give them more. I know you guys are talking about signing bonuses, this, that, and the other, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. If you're gonna give somebody $100 signing bonus just to come work for you, then that means A, you probably don't have a good enough job to entice them without that, and B, you're probably not gonna be able to retain them after a while. So I don't know, man. This unemployment situation is very, very interesting because a lot of people think that it's just free money, like we spoke earlier, but it's not. You pay into this system, and when something happens, that safety net is there to catch you, right? So if you've been paying into this system, then you're just basically receiving your own money, right? Just like when you do taxes and when you end up getting a return, it's because you ended up overpaying on your taxes because you've been paying your money into a system, and then that money comes back. So it's frustrating, y'all. It is very frustrating. And it's not just Kemp. Like I said, there's other Republican governors who are trying to do this. But to me, I just see it to be very, very cruel at a time like this. Not because there are jobs, but because there's jobs that nobody really wants to endure. You shouldn't have to force yourself to work 40 hours in an environment that is completely detrimental to your mental health to make it to where you have suicidal ideation every day you come home, not sure if you're going to make it to work the next day. That is not a job worth having. And that is not a good enough excuse to take away money that you've already earned just for the sake of small business owners. Myself being a small business owner, I understand that if I want people to work for me, then I have to give them something that is worthy of them giving me their time as employment. It's not that fucking hard of a concept. And if you can't pay people enough to work and enough to live, then you don't deserve to have that job or that company in the first place. It's that fucking simple to me. But whatever. Shit. But anyways, staying on the Republicans, man. So look, I don't know if you guys have heard, but Liz Cheney, who is the spawn of Satan, yes, Dick Cheney is Satan. She's been ousted from the number 3 leadership position, meaning she was the chair of the GOP conference whenever it came to creating a message and a narrative for the GOP and stuff like that. She's been ousted, and there was a vote, I believe it was 134 to 46 in favor of putting Elise Stefanik. I don't know how to say her name. I really don't care, to be honest with you, because GOP politicians to me are all trash. But they put her in favor because she's a diehard Trump supporter. She wasn't always, she was kind of moderate, centrist, but now, ever since 2019, she's just been diehard Trump, this, that, and the other. So people put her there, which is very telling of where the GOP is right now. It shows you that they are still behind one man. They have no platform, they have no agenda, they have no goals moving forward other than continuing to align themselves with Trump. Whether Trump runs in 2024 or whatever isn't really an issue right now. The issue is the GOP in itself is crumbling. Now, I know a lot of people say there won't be a civil war within there. And I tend to agree just simply for the fact that I don't think there's enough people on the side of the Liz Cheneys and the Mitt Romneys, people on the McConnell, the McCarthy, and that side where they're just undying loyalty to a piece of shit like Trump. So I do think that there probably won't be a civil war, but I do think there's going to be a crumbling. I don't think it continue to last in the way that it is. There's no way that they can continue to move forward in the obstruction ways that they're doing and continue to get votes when people are starting to become a lot more politically educated. So I think that ousting her right here is very, very interesting. And the funny thing is, so if you go on 538, which is a website with, it's like a statistician website where it gives a whole bunch of stats and data about the way that politics are going or sports or all kinds of things like that. So if you look at it, you can tell that Stefanik only voted with Trump 77.7% of the time, whereas Liz Cheney voted with him 92% of the time. So who really supported Trump and who didn't? It's very interesting. But they don't care about data. They don't care about facts. They don't care about statistics. They care about a talking point and they care about a narrative. And that narrative is now going to be created by somebody who is a complete diehard Trump fanatic. And that is a problem for the GOP in my eyes because it doesn't look good. It doesn't mean that Democrats are going to win 2022 in the midterm because the way politics works, there's always shifting of power between the parties. But we need to realize, though, that the parties themselves, why do we consistently give into these parties? We don't need to. I'm not saying go independent or libertarian or some small grassroots movement. What I'm saying is maybe we need to change our whole election system. That's another conversation. I'm sorry. So, real quick, yesterday, I was able to attend this meeting for a Vietnam veteran memorial that is supposedly going to be placed in my city. And it's been a long process. And this guy who's been pushing for it, Mr. Tom McClendon, very amazing man. I like him a lot. Had a great conversation with him afterwards. We talked about this and that and this and that. And I can tell this man hates politics, right? And, it's kind of sad in the way that he's been getting drug around. People are telling him, yeah, we can do this. Yeah, the money's here. And then it keeps having to bury his Vietnam veteran friends before they have a chance to see this memorial. And it's not just like we want to put a memorial here. They want it to become an experience. They want to have a visitor center here. So if you're in Warner Robins or if you're in Houston County, I need you to start making some noise about this because we do need to honor the Vietnam veterans. We need to give a lot of respect to them because as he kept telling us in this presentation, 1,584 individuals lost their lives in Vietnam that were Georgians, okay? 1,584 Georgians lost their life. And he really highlighted an individual that I never knew. So I'm going to explain him to you guys. His name is Rodney Maxwell Davis. And he was an African-American Marine who served between the years of 1961 and 1967. And during 1967, he was running down the line telling his people, we got to keep fighting. We got to keep shooting. And he was still shooting, doing his thing. A grenade was thrown into the trenches and he threw himself onto that grenade. This man gave his life in the sacrifice of the American dream. He gave his life for his brothers in arms. He gave his life for us to have a better one. And he needs to be highlighted. He needs to be acknowledged. And he needs to be given that credit. He did receive the Medal of Honor. But sad thing is, he was from Macon. Now, if y'all know anything about Macon, it was kind of racist at that time. So in 1967, African Americans were not allowed to be buried within city limits. So what happened was there were some Marines who had actually got saved by this man who were riding by and wanted to go pay the respects. And they saw something that hurt them deeply. They saw this weeds all over this stuff. They saw that the monument or whatever, the headstone was really bad looking, out of it. I can't even really explain it. But they said that it was really, really messed up how this was being taken care of. So what happened was they started reaching out to different battalions, and over $60,000 was accumulated. They bought a new monument for him, and they were able to give him that. And I think that is amazing. I do, because we need to be able to highlight these kind of people, which means I am definitely in support of this Vietnam Veteran Memorial. I think that it's something that without a doubt needs to happen. And apparently there's only one thing that's really holding it up. And he sits in City Hall. And I've talked about him. I told y'all I hate our mayor because he is trash. Tom's is trash. I don't care if he knows that I'm saying that. I would tell him to his face. As a mayor, as a public elected official, you are trash. And you're racist too when it comes to the way that you operate. And that's not a lie. That is factual, because if we look at that $10 million lawsuit by A2D, we will see that it was malicious and intentional discriminatory actions against African American developers. So fuck you, Tom's. And also fuck you, Kemp, just because. Anyways, before we get up out of here, y'all, damn, I had some fun with y'all today, man. I really enjoyed this one. So my dog J. Cole has dropped a new album, The Off Season, y'all. He did a freestyle not too long ago. I think it was like 93 to Infinity beat, and then the Mike Jones still the still tipping beat, right? And like he murdered him, just killed it. And I was like, damn, Cole's here now, and Cole is showing a level of confidence I haven't seen from him in I don't know how long. I'm very excited. I haven't had a chance to listen to it. It dropped last night at midnight. I'm gonna definitely tell y'all about it next week. But if you're looking for something to ride to, there's 12 tracks on that thing. Throw it on, listen to Cole, see what he's talking about, check it out. Anyways, I appreciate y'all sitting down, listening, doing this thing that we do, these firesides, our conversations. I love it. And I hope to see y'all next week. Deuces.